Hello, welcome once again to Pale Blooms and Beyond. Thank you for joining us today. If you do like the programming you see here and the musicians and artists that I visit with, please be sure and hit the like button and also subscribe to the channel. Mike Finney is an English singer and frontman for Manchester punk new wave band The Distractions. Mike, along with guitarist Steve Perrin, formed the band in 1975. Filling out the band were Lawrence Tickle on bass and Tony Trappe on drums. Many members have joined the ranks of the Distractions over the years. During the band's first run, there would be one album, 1980's Nobody's Perfect, and 7 singles between 1978 and 1981. Live shows found the band playing alongside such artists as Buzzcocks, Magazine, and Joy Division. After the breakup of the band, Mike went on to work with the Secret Seven and Art of Noise. Years later, the band would reform with a different lineup, and since 2010 have released a couple of singles as well as a second and third full-length album. There was also a retrospective, Parabolically Yours, released in 2017. And since 2016, the new lineup has also been playing live quite a bit. Well, welcome, Mike.
Hi, how you doing?
Thank you for joining me today and taking time out to visit. Well, take us back to the beginning. Where were you born?
Born in Stockport, which is part of Greater Manchester, as was Steve, and we were both at Stockport College. I was working for Her Majesty's Customs and Excise, and Steve was working for the Social Services, and we were doing a college course together.
Oh, okay. Well, I forgot to mention before we talked, my only trip to the UK was Manchester back in 2000, so that's been quite a few years ago, to see the Chameleons.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't go that often back to Manchester. I've been more often recently because my son is starting to work for a law firm in Manchester,
Yeah.
or the Manchester office of a law firm, and so I go over and visit him quite regularly.
Yes, yes.
It's nice to see the old place, although it's almost unrecognisable from when I was a guy, young guy. We used to go to Manchester a lot, but Friday, Saturday, probably Sunday as well. When we first started the band, after meeting up at the college, Steve and I used to go out on Fridays and Saturday nights, and there was quite a lot of clubs that were pretty hip and trendy that we went to. We started going to one that used to play basically Lou Reed, David Bowie, Iggy Pop, and that was great. And then we went to the Ranch Bar, which was iconic at the time, which played the same thing, but it started to get full of more like-minded people. Punk at that time was not dressing up with spiky hair and dog collar. That was something London boys did. It was much more, if you can think magazine, it was that sort of thing.
Right. Yeah. Interesting that. The Witchwood. Did you ever play the Witchwood? Or do you?
Yes.
Okay, that's where we saw Mark and the Chameleons play there. Yeah, at that little club. Well, how about early on? Was there music in the household when you were growing up?
Oh yeah, I've listened to music since I was 2 or 3. My mum was into Bing Crosby and Frank Sinatra, as all mums were in those days. Steve's mum was really big into Cliff Richard and Elvis.
Oh yes.
I just soaked it all up. So one of my favourite singers, apart from the Otis Reddings and the Roy Orbisons, is a guy called Al Bowley.
Yes.
A pre-Bing Crosby crooner. Fantastic.
Yes.
That's just my thing. So we all the 60s, the Kinks, the Small Faces, they used to play at the piers shows on the piers in the holiday towns. So we used to go and see those. You soaked it all up. And in the 70s, it was more a case of, I suppose the early 70s was a bit dead. It was, I used to love a band called Free.
Oh yeah.
Because I think the singer Paul Rodgers has got probably the best white soul voice, along with Steve Winwood, that I've ever heard.
Yeah.
And it was nice to be on Ireland because you could talk, meet these guys. It was brilliant.
Yeah.
And so in the mid-70s, it was all Roxy Music and David Bowie.
Yes.
But
Yes.
then the sort of new wave started in 76-ish. Buzzcocks were top dogs in Manchester, always were and always will be for me. They were great, one of my favourite bands ever, along with the Velvets.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, we got into all that. We met Pip, the bass player, through Pete Shelley. She'd applied to join
Okay.
Buzzcocks.
Okay.
And Pete said, I know you're looking for a bass player. What about this? So he said, yeah, give it a go. And she was brilliant,
I don't know if we
really.
mentioned this before, but did you happen to see my interview with Steve Diggle?
I didn't know. I mean,
Okay.
I've
Okay.
not seen Steve himself since 20, 20 before the pandemic.
Okay. Okay.
And we played a gig with him in Preston in Lancashire.
Yeah.
And it was nice to see him because I knew his family as well,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I will. I'll make a point after this, to send you a link to that so you can, watch that.
Yeah.
He did have some technical issues on his end, but yeah. But so I put a little note of that at kind of, I believe, at the beginning. But
Okay.
but anyway, we got through it. So yeah, it was it was interesting. But anyway, let's so you were talking about some of the influences early on through the 70s. Well, what about the music scene around you, particularly around that time before you started, playing with the Distractions?
Yeah, I mean that was Roxy Music, David
Yeah.
Bowie, Lou Reed, the Velvet Underground, Iggy Pop. That was probably the biggest scene, and that's where we were. I mean, Steve and myself, because we didn't know Pip at that point, and we didn't know Tony either. Tony Trappe was the son of somebody Steve worked with.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he had a Volvo and he had some drums, so that's got him in the band straight away, Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, you mentioned, magazine also. I talked to Barry Adamson.
Oh, great.
Uh,
Yeah, I know
yeah,
Barry.
yeah. So I can send you that one as well. I was trying to think real, knocking the brain on that one. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I've not seen Barry since, goodness me, 91,
oh,
something like
that's
that.
quite a while. Okay. Well, that'll be a little refresher for you.
Yeah.
Well, were you in a band prior to the Distractions?
No, Steve and
Okay.
myself started a sort of a band that we call ourselves Berlin, which is a bit quiche, isn't it? But we did that in early 75 before we started rehearsing with what we thought were our own songs. I mean, heavily plagiarized, of course, but
Yeah.
say they always were. I don't know.
Right.
But as Bob Dylan said, open your ears and it'll go in.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think yeah, the scene was it was on its am I allowed to say on its arse? Yeah, and there wasn't anything happening except for, I mean, Lou Reed was definitely the main man,
Okay.
even more than David Bowie for most of us.
Okay.
And we used to rehearse in an old Catholic church school hall, which was great. It was really nice and let us in, seeing as I was a Methodist and the rest were all atheists. I thought it was pretty cool.
I was raised Methodist myself, so
Absolutely, you do anything you like.
right. Right.
Unfortunately, I've done them all.
Yeah.
I think the issue with Manchester at the time was getting everywhere in Britain it was very dull, the scene.
Yeah.
And then suddenly, Buzzcocks started playing, and it was totally different. It was, just four lads who got instruments. Yes,
Yeah.
they got a rudimentary understanding of them. Pardon me, but Pete wrote great songs. They're all a little bit,
Yes.
I hate to say Benny Hill, but I think, you know, I'm not being that I don't mean that in a nasty way.
Oh,
We're
no.
all a little bit crude.
Right, right.
And then you saw Pete come into his own as a songwriter. And the first, obviously, was Boredom and Breakdown and all that Time's Up EP. But that went, my favorite was What Do I Get?
Yes, yes, I like that. Yeah.
Oh, you know, we played it in our local place here. It's called a Picture Drome in Holmfirth. And Buzzcocks played. I went to see him because, you know, well, Pete, not seen him for a long time. And he did say, "This one's for Mark Finney." Boom, and
Did he?
I get like, yeah.
That made you feel good, yeah.
Yeah, everybody in the place had no idea who it was. So
Right, right. That's me. That's me.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Well, you had mentioned, yeah, you had mentioned it's been
oh,
50
yeah.
years.
Oh,
Oh, go ahead.
yeah,
Go ahead. Yeah,
yeah.
50 years since you
So
and Steve were rehearsing. Yeah, first started rehearsing.
I
Yeah,
know. It's a long time, isn't it?
yeah,
But I
yeah.
still talk to Steve, not every week, but once every 2 weeks, if not more, because he lives in Auckland now.
Okay, okay.
And so obviously, you know, there's a time difference and complete culture difference, because here it's 1615, over there it's 1950. So I'm
Yeah,
told.
yeah. It's back during World War One. There, yeah.
Yeah, VE Day, what's all that about?
1950. That's fun. That's interesting.
So we have, we got together and we met Pip through Pete, because we all used to go to the ranch bar. We met, but Tony played with us for a few gigs with Pip, but he wanted to go to university, so that meant leaving. And so we put an advert in the New Musical Express,
Yeah, yeah,
wanting a guitarist and a drummer, and that's when Alex and Adrian came on.
yeah. That was the big the big
Oh,
paper
sorry?
to. I said that was the big paper to advertise in.
Oh,
Yes,
absolutely.
for band members. Yes, yes. I've heard that doing. Yeah, yes.
Yeah, unless you were, you know, proper prog rocky types, and that'd be the Melody Maker. You know, you went.
Also melody. Yes, also the melody maker. Yes, yes,
Of
yes.
course, I made a lot of friends in the press. Paul Morley, Mick Middles in sounds. Mick still writes, of course, writes books now.
Yeah.
Mainly about Factory, because when New Order played in New York in 83, 82, like that, the only person they would talk to in the press, in the British press, was Mick. So they had to take him with them.
Oh, with them. Oh, wow. Okay.
And Sounds, who he worked for at the time, were not overly pleased, because it was a very expensive.
Yeah, I bet they weren't. Oh, wow.
But yeah, the scene developed more and more. I mean, the Pistols coming to play was big news.
Yeah.
The Damned and Johnny Thunder's Heartbreakers, who were fantastic. I mean,
Oh,
they were like the New York Dolls of the late 70s. You know, they were
right,
fantastic.
right. Yes, exactly. Well, the original members and the Distractions. Did you guys all pretty much share a similar taste in music?
More or less. I mean, Pip was a little bit more avant-garde.
Okay.
Steve always had his avant-garde side, but you know, in the main, yeah. I mean, the Cramps was, I wouldn't say they're
No.
an influence. We just really like them. Obviously, the Ramones. You know.
Yes.
Yeah, the Modern Lovers. Yeah,
Oh, Jonathan Richman. Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
all that stuff
Uh,
was fantastic. And the
yeah.
Talking Heads, of course, you know.
Oh,
And yeah, Adrian was. I mean, apart from liking sort of pop music, he also liked classical music.
yeah.
And we could get off on that.
You're
That's cool.
right.
Alex was in a band called the Purple Gang, who were like a jug band, really. You know, they were pretty fun. You know.
Yeah. You mentioned that New York scene was pretty influential for you guys over there too. You
I'm
mentioned that
sorry.
the New York scene, was
Oh
pretty
yeah,
influential.
yeah. I mean, absolutely, because
Was
that's
another
when it.
how about television? Television.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I mean, Marquee Moon was a bit of a landmark, you know. Obviously,
Yeah.
the New York scene,
Yeah.
where it's centered. I don't think it was all New York, but it was New
Yeah.
York City.
Yeah, they
That
called it.
really did influence an awful lot of what was happening in the UK,
Right.
especially Talking Heads and Ramones.
Yes.
Not only because one was sort of very thoughtful with a touch of avant-garde, and the other one was extremely fun.
Yes, yes.
I still play the Ramones now and love it, you know.
Right.
It was like in a country when we were sort of really motoring and we were with Island Records and everything was really happening at that time. We could get 1,000 people in Manchester, 1,000 people in London. I bet you we couldn't have got 10 in Halifax.
Yes.
It's awful.
Isn't that something? Yeah. You know, I have to tell this. When I was in Manchester back in 2000, you know, we had a cabbie drive us from the airport to our hotel. And he said, "Why are you here?" You know, I said, "Well, we're going to see our favorite band, the Chameleons," you know. And of course, he's never heard of them, right? And it's like he lived there his whole life, never heard of them, you know.
Yeah.
You
You guys
find,
have traveled all the way from the States to come and see
right,
it.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
I
interesting.
used to get a guy from Minneapolis writing to me quite regularly before we'd played in New York. And he was writing to me quite regularly. And then after we played in New York, he said, "When can I come and see you? At any time you like, you know, my mum will set a bed up for you if you're that way."
Right.
It's just really, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it really is. Well, um, so we talked about that a little bit. Early on, in '77, there were some changes to the lineup.
Well, the changes to the lineup is when Adrian and Alex joined us.
Okay.
Pip was late '76, early '77.
Yeah.
And we were drummerless for a few months, and then Alex and Adrian joined.
Okay.
We suddenly went from not being all, what's the word, not being all that dancey to suddenly people taking notice. And it's because we had two guitars. I mean, it didn't do us any harm that Aid looked like Lou Reed when he was playing guitar.
Yeah.
And Alex was a very powerful drummer, still is, bless him. He's 70 odd and he's still a powerful drummer. And we went to, that's when we started getting noticed. So Alex and Adrian joined us, and not long after that, Tony Davidson was the owner of TJM Records. Still around, Tony, still talk to him quite regularly. He asked us if we'd do an EP for him, which was Not Going Out Dressed Like That,
Right.
which we're really pleased with. And whilst we were doing You're Not Going Out Dressed Like That, it got released, got single of the week in the NME and Sounds, and you know, a lot of papers gave us record of the week, which we were very pleased about, obviously. And that's when Tony Wilson said, "Why don't you come and make one for me?"
Yes. Yeah. It piqued his interest. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
can you?
We'd known Tony a long time because
Yeah.
Tony was part of the scene. You know, he used to come around
Yeah.
the clubs and so on. Not every week, but he used to come around the clubs. And so he said, "Come on, make one for Factory." And the only thing we knew on Factory at that time was with Joy Division's, just the initial bits of Joy Division, because Warsaw was originally going to be on Factory. And we'd played with them a few times. And the Fall were big champions of ours. Yeah, I mean they were fantastic. You know.
Yeah. We'll talk about some of the early gigs, circa this time period, and some of your live shows.
Nearly everyone was a student run gig.
Okay.
So it'd be in the college or university or whatever. The freakiest one we did was in '78, and we played the University of Sheffield's Freshers Ball along with Minnie Riperton, Linda Lewis, and Gary Glitter. Gary Glitter has been in prison for a long time now.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
that's a wild billing. Yeah, there. Yeah.
We did that one. That was a lot of the early ones were playing. We did caving clubs, because not far from Manchester is a place called Buxton.
Okay.
Buxton's a lovely place, known for its water and its history. Really, it's a great place. Buxton Water is it's a bit like Evian or one of those. And one of the guys in their caving club had come to see us playing in one of the student union gigs that we played, and he asked, could we go and play his caving club? So we didn't have transport for all the gear in one go at that point. So there's a band called the Drones, and Gus, who was the guitarist, he had a big van, so we all went in this big van, and obviously, you know, we were dressed as we always dressed, and we turned up at the caving club, and it was a dinner dance. You know, that guy. It stopped being a dinner dance quite soon after we got on, but it was
Yeah, I bet.
yeah, it was great. And we got booked for another 3 after that. It was really good.
Did you? Oh, did you? Yeah, yeah. Well, when was it? What time period when you did play with the Buzzcocks? Was that early on, or was that a little bit later?
No, 77, 78.
Okay.
Early, you know, wherever they could get us on the list, we'd go.
Okay.
But we didn't get when they did the big tour, unfortunately in '79, we didn't get on that one. But we did quite a lot of gigs with them in clubs in Manchester, and mainly Manchester.
Okay. Okay. And Magazine. How about Magazine? Yeah.
Magazine were very, very well behaved.
Yeah.
You know, they were like the gentlemen.
Oh.
I mean, you know, that's not going too far beyond. But they would, you know, they weren't the wild guys at all. They were just, I mean, probably were in their own world, but they weren't known in the group as wild guys.
Yeah.
Buzzcocks were a little more tempered. Joy Division were the ones who would do anything for a laugh, anything for a laugh.
Is that right?
We went to the dressing room of the Buzzcocks and Joy Division tour, and John Marr, the drummer of the Buzzcocks, he was massively into Volkswagen Beetles. So he'd had a Volkswagen Beetle convertible, totally just pimped up. It was fantastic looking thing, velour seats, the lot. And Ian Curtis threw a cake into it from the back. It was his birthday, so he threw a cake into the top of it. John wasn't pleased. And when we were going on stage, they put excrement, or Joy Division had wiped excrement on the handles of the doors. So when Buzzcocks were on stage, of course, they were grabbing the door and having to wash their hands again. And they were good. They were funny. I mean, I used to talk a lot with Ian, and mainly Ian because the others were all into the music and they'd talk with Steve or whatever. Yeah. But, you know, Ian was a funny guy. He really was funny, you know.
Yeah.
Very upbeat, which is quite ironic, really, isn't it?
Right. I've heard stories about his personality, before what happened. Yeah, it's sad. Well,
we were on tour. We're in Scotland. We didn't know about Ian, because we're out of touch with no things are mobile in those days. And we got to the hotel, and our press guy Neil Story said, go and get a paper now, the NME, go and get it. And it had a thing on the front about Ian dying. It was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Yes.
Horrible.
Yes, it really was, and has been for, I mean, that just a lingering scar, and just for years and years and decades after that. Yeah. So, well, you did mention your first EP. You're not going out dressed like that. That's got the interest of what am I trying to say? Tony, and Tony.
It's a bit like the Ruttles, they said the Beatles made the first album in 15 minutes and the second one took even longer. Well, it was a little bit like that. We had 8 hours to record it and mix it.
Okay.
So we didn't know. We just carried on, and it's more or less live. With a few overdubs, but mainly live. Right. And so Tony got us in to do Time Goes By So Slow, or it was going to be the other side, which was Pillow Fight.
Okay.
And we'd already started the recording of it, so it didn't really cost him a great deal because our manager was also the engineer at the studio. So it didn't cost Tony a lot of money, and he's the only person who's ever paid me any royalties, to be fair.
Is that right? Okay. Well, there is that good side. Yeah. Well, yeah. You mentioned that, and time goes by so slow, as well as it doesn't bother me. Or really good songs that have tested and lasted the test of time with you guys, and have appeared on many various artist compilations. Yeah, both of them.
Yeah, they do. And nice as it is, the Palatines and the factory issued ones
Yeah.
also include us, which is great. Um, Time Goes By was probably the thing that got us the deal with Ireland.
Okay.
And that was a very fun year with Ireland. I
Oh,
mean, we didn't last too long, but it was either us or you too, and I still think they made a mistake.
okay. Yeah. That's a strange pairing there. A band like you with Island. But yeah, that's it happens, right?
Oh
Well,
yeah.
what did I have to ask you about Tony? What did he mean when he described the band? Quote, reminds the management of Austin, Texas '66, but take your choice. What did he mean there?
The Birds are the sort of plethora of garage bands
Oh,
that sprang from Texas. I mean, there was a lot of garage bands come out of Texas that were brilliant.
okay.
I don't know, I mean, you go back as far as Buddy Holly. There's so much that's come out of Texas that,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, Buddy Holly is obviously an influence to everybody.
Yeah,
You couldn't, even if you don't know it, he is.
he is.
And, they just, so yeah, Texas was where it was centered. I mean, you could say the Birds,
Okay,
not really all Texas, of course, but
right.
more or less.
That's yeah. So California sound, yeah, out there too. Yeah,
Well, I'd say
exactly.
Texas sound actually, because California just pinched it.
Ah,
As they
right.
do, it's like New York did it, Los
Yeah,
Angeles does it.
yes,
The heartland is like Texas, and of course Ohio. A lot came
yes.
from.
Well, the ones that moved out there and really started that whole California sound. It's like Sly Stone was Texas
Yeah,
born. Steve Miller,
yeah,
and of course Janis Joplin. From so yeah,
what a voice.
a lot of Texan and Stephen Stills. Stephen Stills is also.
Oh, Steve Stills. I mean, one of my favorite moments. I know this is a bit old hippie, but one of my favorite moments of Woodstock is "Sweet Judy Blue Eyes."
Ah,
Just miraculous.
yes, it
I,
is. It
I,
is.
I really like the Grateful Dead as well. So
Another one. Yeah. Yeah, they had their own niche out there. Yeah, as well. Well, the Soul album from the early days. Again, we mentioned 1980s. Nobody's Perfect.
yep.
The album got some good reviews, but it didn't really sell that well. Yeah.
No, well, there was a bit of a problem really because when it was released, EMI, who were the pressing plant, were on strike, and they were on strike for about 3 months.
Oh,
Our adverts all went in at the very beginning, so our budget was busted, the
yeah.
advertising budget. And when they came back into work, it was all the Paul McCartney's and Kate Bush albums and things that were being pressed. So we were I think it was about 3 months late
Okay.
because there was even the first pressing of It Doesn't Bother Me was on white vinyl, and it was because it should have come out at Christmas, but it didn't. So it came out in February, I think, and so it was lost. The humor was lost.
Oh, on that. Okay. We'll just sprinkle some snow on it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The timing. I mean, luck and timing has so much to do with everything in the music industry.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
look at the album, Nobody's Perfect. When we released it, there was a delay,
Yeah.
so we got fantastic all over the well English speaking world anyway. So many plaudits and how great it was, and not least from the USA. We did an interview with well, it was the Interview magazine. It wasn't with Andy Warhol, but it was the Interview magazine with a German guy, and he said, "I can't believe it wasn't a hit." I said, "Well, I can because we're just the unluckiest group from Manchester."
Yeah.
And because when we released it the second time, which was the anthology one,
Yes.
Parabolically Yours, that came out just as the pandemic closed all the stores.
Oh, right. See, another bad stroke of luck. Yeah, and timing there.
So
Yeah.
every time we play a gig now, I always say, I just, in case we release it a third time, keep your heads down.
Yeah. Good advice.
Progressively worse every
Maybe the third time might be the charm too. Yeah,
time.
right.
I'll probably be too old to care, but yeah, thank you.
Right. Right. Well, there was the one last single in '81, and then the band split up.
Yeah,
What?
that wasn't much fun. I mean, the
Yeah.
single was out on Rough Trade, which of that records, but it was actually Rough Trade, um, which I actually quite like now in retrospect. At the time, I thought, oh, it's not good, but in retrospect, I think it's pretty good. And what happened was Arthur, or Pete Sadler, or Pete Egregious, as he's known now, he was a bit of a controller. He's a nice guy, but he was a bit of a control freak, and he made it difficult for Pip and Alec. Aid had already left to go to university, and so that left me and Arthur, and the next lot of distractions just didn't work very well. I went in the dressing room once and rehearsed a song I'd never heard. I thought, well, you can cut something out, but you're not cutting me out, guys. So I said, I'm off. You can have the name if you want, but I'm off.
Yeah. Well, what did the other members do post distractions?
Or Adrian went to university but left. Unfortunately, he's not a well guy at the moment and hasn't been for many years. Alex, of course, is with me now. Pip, funnily enough, came to the house yesterday.
Is that right? Huh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
seen that often, but
Yeah. We should have had that. We should have met yesterday and had both of you on.
yeah, Pip.
Yeah.
And Steve, obviously, in Auckland. So, but when in the 90s, when we did a few more recordings, that was excellent. There's a guy who now, he's a sound engineer somewhere in California, strangely, and he played bass and did the engineering and the production. Was a guy called Kev Durkin, who joined us for a short while, Steve and myself. And there's the song that I like, or sort of say the EP I like best of all that we've ever done, from my point of view, is one that was called Black Velvet.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, and there's two songs on that. There's Black Velvet and If You Were Mine. And those are my two favorite vocals that I feel like I did best on.
You did the best on. Okay. Well, I was going to ask you what led up to that reunion in the '90s. Who was behind that?
Steve. I mean, Steve and I used to. He'd been lecturing in American studies of all things in Catania in Sicily.
Ah, okay.
So he was Don Perrin, and he came away from there, came home, and I got in touch with him. We used to go out for a beer and so on. He said, "You fancy doing it again for a bit?" I said, "Well, why not? Good fun." And that's when the stuff from the stuff we did in the 90s, I don't think much of it has been released. There's still some tapes that a guy called Nick Halliwell, who ran Occultation.
Okay.
Nick's having a bad time at the moment, so if you can convince people to buy some Occultation records, he's your man. He came in after that and talked us into doing an EP that was called Come Home, which is Lost. And then that's when he said, "Why don't we do an album?" Well, fair enough, if you can do. But he's quite challenged because Steve was in New Zealand, Nick's in Exeter, which is the very south of England. You can't get much more south than Exeter. And I was in here. I'm in West Yorkshire.
Yeah.
And really difficult getting it together, but we did it.
Yeah.
And but the 90s one, sort of, we only did 2 gigs, and then
And you're pretty fond of the material from that time period that you guys,
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
the songs from that mid-90s stuff,
Yeah.
even the ones that have never been released. There's a great song called Good Girls Don't Get to Paris, which has never been released. I can't wait for it to be released. We recorded it. Yeah, we went to Chiswick in London to where Telstar was recorded.
Oh, with Joe Meek. Yeah.
Joe Meek's Valve gear, and it just
Yeah.
sounds fantastic. But I mean,
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I
when
can
you cross,
remember
yeah,
hearing that for the first time. Yeah.
oh,
Oh, wow.
yeah,
Yeah. How influential that was. Well, so are there tracks from the early go around that are still in the vaults that were never released?
no, I think most of them ended up on the anthology.
Okay. Okay.
I think on the anthology, there's even
That,
some demos that we made very
okay.
early on.
So that was
But,
pretty thorough. Yeah. Well,
hmm,
yeah. So what happened? You went to Secret Seven.
yeah,
What was that? Was that just right after the Distractions broke up? Okay.
yeah, it was straight after. Yeah,
Okay.
we after we did the EP in '81, and I fell out with everybody set later that year. Uh, the two people who came with me from that band was Bernard Vandenberg and Alan Usher. Well, Bernard I still see now; he's a top lad. Don't see Alan anymore because like Alan and Bernard didn't see eye to eye eventually. So we went on, and Mick Middles' wife, who eventually ran off with me. So sorry, Mick, but yeah, I still see him, still see Mick. Um, Julie, we formed the Secret Seven. There was only four of us. The Secret Seven was we hadn't just went through a row of books, and it was the least sort of. I won't say anything badly, but there was no side to it at all. It was just like the Secret Seven. You need blighting. You couldn't get less hit than that, could you? So that'll do. Uh,
any
that's what we
any
did.
any recorded material?
There was one EP. We were on Bronze Records of all places. You know, Bronze was known for Motorhead, Girls' School, Supertramp, Uriah Heep.
I was
You
going
know,
to say Uriah Heep. Yeah, I
we
recognize.
were we were like completely the opposite. Although there was it was good fun in the studio there.
Yeah.
Whole new story. I won't go there because we'll be here
You.
all night. Yeah, but there was we did a single called "Hold On to Love," and it was essentially it was double A, and it was very disco and electronic. And Jerry Bron just said, oh, he released it, but he was like, oh, do something with guitars. Going, we haven't got a guitar.
Yeah.
So the funny thing was when he came, he said, well, let's see you at the Rock Garden in London.
Yeah.
So I said, okay. And we got Julie, who was the other singer with me. Her brother-in-law was in the Hermits.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And he'd just come back from Las Vegas, you know, doing Caesar's Palace. We said, do you fancy doing a gig with us? He said, oh, brilliant. And
Yeah.
so we got the guitarist in just for Jerry Bron.
Oh, just for Jerry. you, you want a guitar? Here's a guitar. Oh, that's
Yeah, we can be ironic as well as you, mate.
yes, yes. Well, when were you with Art of Noise, and in what capacity?
Very, very briefly.
Okay, okay. I thought so.
What happened was I uh, Paul Morley asked me would I do something with the Art of Noise, just sing something. So I said, yeah, sure. So we got Close to the Edge was what it was
Yeah,
originally called. Not that Close to the Edge, but Close to the Edit, but
yes,
originally called Close to the Edge. So I
yeah.
put a vocal on it, and for various reasons, it didn't get used, and therefore I'm the edit. And as Steve said to me, you can always say Tom Jones got your job.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
But yeah, it's very brief. I mean, I didn't sign anything. You know, it was just,
Okay.
but it was
Yeah.
good fun. It was great.
I noticed that release. How many different versions of that Close to the Edit? It's like, I mean, how many more can you do? You know?
Absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
like, wasn't it?
Right. Right. You know. I think
Yeah, the only thing that's not on it is me, so that's not nice.
oh. Okay. All right. All right. Well, there is that. Yeah, I mean that connection there. There'll always be there, I guess. Uh,
Yeah.
well, the and you as you mentioned, Distraction's latest material is all released on occultation recordings. Occultation recordings. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's the brainchild of who did you say?
Nick Halliwell.
Nick Halliwell, right?
Yeah, we did some gigs with Nick on guitar in 2012 in Manchester, and he bought, bless him, he bought a Gretsch Country Gentleman for just to do these gigs.
Did he?
Panache, mate, panache. Yeah,
Well,
we've had a great time with Nick. He was a funny guy.
yeah.
His sense of humor is amazing.
Oh, that's good to have that. Yeah, yeah. Well, 2010's Still It Doesn't Ring EP.
Oh yeah, well that was the just a track
Okay,
on
okay.
there. I mean, Still Doesn't Ring was originally, well, it was one of the first songs Steve and I wrote.
Okay.
The first song we wrote was Valerie. I love Valerie, but Valerie loves you. And that was on the way to an off license, which I know you call them a liquor store.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, off license premises near his house, or his mum's house as it was then. And we just went out some beers. And as we were walking there and back, 10 minutes, we wrote Valerie.
Okay,
And we
yeah,
got in, just played it, went, yeah, that'll do.
yeah. It's a
Then we
very short song. Yeah, Valerie.
very short song,
Yeah.
yeah.
You know what? When I first saw that, I said, "That's not the Monkees version. That's not and it's not because it's spelled differently. You made a point of spelling it differently too. Theirs just has the I on the end without the E. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
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 well, we knew Valerie. I mean,
yeah.
Davy Jones, bless him. He was from Manchester.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was. That's
Yeah,
right.
I
That's
think
right.
he was about less than a mile away from where I was born.
Is that right?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah.
I love the Monkees. I think they're fantastic. Daydreaming is a great song. You know,
Yeah, yeah. They're fun. They're fun. Yeah, I used to watch those.
I don't care who wrote them. I love them.
Yeah. Used to watch their comedy show growing up. Yeah, used
Oh
to
yeah,
always be
yeah.
in front of the TV. Well, that and Batman. Yeah,
But yeah, when we wrote all these songs, Still Doesn't Ring has
yeah,
been on a lot of different versions of it.
yeah.
In fact, there's one that was released. Oh no, we didn't release it. Um, there was Still Doesn't Ring came out, and I think that's on Black Velvet as well. I
Okay,
think that's the second track
okay,
on Black
okay.
Velvet, and that was 2010, 2012.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
yeah. The same year you mentioned this one earlier. Come Home, the Come Home single.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Lost. That's
yeah.
Lost. Nicole. Lost is actually a suicide note that he's telling me what they are. Nicole is about a woman who won't go out because she's scared, paranoid sort of
Yeah.
thing. He wrote a lot of these with double meanings. And we both did, I mean, none of them are what they look like.
Yeah, yes, right.
They never were. I mean, a lot of them are sort of really heartfelt angst or not. You take your pick.
Yes, yes. I like that. The double meaning, like you say, the entendre. I like that, And leave it up to the listener to decide. Yeah, I like that.
Absolutely, because I'm not hearing it. I know what it goes like. Somebody else is hearing it.
Yes. Right, right. Now you and Steve assembled a new band. I want to hear how you got Mike Kelly, ex Spooky Tooth, and the Only Ones
Oh,
to join.
absolutely. Well, the idea of parabolically yours, I can't say it as well, which is why it's not called that on the album. Neil Story, who runs Hidden Masters, he's done a couple of books on Island Records covers.
Yeah.
You may not have seen them, pretty pricey, but really good. I mean, really in depth. And I'm still in touch with Neil. We stay together, and he was a big mate of Kelly's.
Oh, okay, okay.
So when we didn't have a drummer available, he said, I can get you one. It's Mike Kelly. So what Spooky Tooth? He
Yeah.
said, only ones. Yeah. Bring him in. And
Yeah.
he again, sadly, he died. He's a lovely, lovely man. Lovely man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we did a session where Pip and Alec went to do an interview with a magazine called Jackie, which was massive in the sort of teen thing in the UK. And when they were away, we had to do some rehearsing because Radio 1 had booked us for a session. So we had Over M. Watts and Muff Winwood
Yeah.
in a rehearsal room in Stockport just so we could get the rehearsal done. And it was like, we're playing not the Who play. What's going on?
Right.
And then we got Kelly. Yeah, we know.
Yeah.
I'm sure we would have been up for a Bob Marley at some point. But
Oh, right. Well, that's sad to hear. With Spooky Tooth, all of their members are like dropping like flies. Like you said, Mike Harrison, and then Gary Wright. Also
yeah.
passing. Yeah. So I think Luther may be the only one still around
I think Luther kept going. I think he's still.
Yeah.
I think he still is.
Yeah. I think he's still with us. Yeah. So very interesting. Yeah, I thought that was strange. That he would be up for playing with you guys too. Coming from that background. I thought that's.
Yeah, he really liked it because he's with the only ones as well.
Yeah, that's
so he
true.
was used to a bit of different. Other than
he had that edgy. Yeah. As well. Well, the new band got to recording, and the result was the second Distractions album, full length, The End of the Pier.
Yeah. Very, very personal album for me and Steve. That.
Yeah.
But my favorite tune is called Wise.
Oh, okay.
Right, and it was really a description. Only I sing his part and he sings mine. That's the sort of difference. But we used to share rooms when we're on tour and that. And I used to like a beer. Steve liked one or two. I like 5 or 6, if you know what I mean.
Okay, right.
So it's not wrong what's written down. It's just I'm singing it in parts where he should have sung it.
Oh, okay. It's not totally autobiographical.
No, almost. Not quite.
Almost.
Well, so that was probably the most personal. Well, all of that album was pretty damn personal to me and him, even though Nick wrote some of them. Yeah. Spookily, Nick wrote Wise. I don't know how he did it.
Yeah.
Because neither of us had told him about it.
Right.
But it's more or less spot on.
Right. Well, I know now, the period that it came out, with now we're the internet age. It wasn't like back in the 80s or late 70s when albums were released and you get the reaction from fans and the critics. But did you get some reaction on The End of the Pier?
Well, we got some great reviews, but not really online because I didn't look, to be honest. Okay. I don't read a lot of the reviews. Never really did. I did early on, very much so. But more recently, it's just nice that people said nice things about it. Yeah. So we have a friend called Dave Quantick, who was apart from doing his NME and what's the magazine he's in now? Can't think of the name of it. Damn, one of the glossies. But he was one of the writers on Veep, the series.
Okay, right.
So he's a pretty clever guy, and when he wrote it, he just says everybody's got their own band when they're growing up who belongs to them. The Distractions were mine, and I thought, oh, that's lovely.
Yeah, that's a nice way to say it. Yeah.
It is, yeah. And so we've had some good plaudits. Kind of leave the stage, same again. We got which is the next album. We've got the same sort of thing. I have no idea what was said online. I've never looked.
Okay.
Sorry, I don't know what I'm supposed to say. I don't know.
But you've received some personal emails and comments and things like that.
Oh yeah. People who I know. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of Facebook. I mean, I go on there just to see what the people are doing. So I'm sort of like a
Yeah.
Facebook voyeur, if anything.
Right.
Don't put anything on it apart from thanks for the
Yeah.
birthday.
I'm the same way. I don't post any personal content. I really don't, and only doing these interviews, have I started paying attention to it, because it's my first point of contact, unless you guys have a personal, website or something like that. So
No, we did have there's a guy called Dan. Can't give his name. Dan Metcalf.
Okay.
He runs the Distractions Facebook. He also runs the Distractions website. But as a doctor, the guy's busy.
He can't devote too much time to it.
we see him every now and again at a gig, and
yeah. Yes. Well, the talk about the retrospective Parabolically Yours, released in 2017. Now, that first edition was in a 12-inch case-bound book format, including over 100 pages.
But that never happened.
That didn't happen. Okay.
It was because that was going to be Neil's story from the Island days, and he just couldn't afford to do it because it costs a fortune. He'd done one for Jess Roden, one for Jim Capaldi.
Yeah.
All his old chums from Ireland,
Yeah.
And he was going to do one for us, but he just couldn't get the cash together. So he said, so that's why Occultation did it. And Man in the Moon Records, who's the other part, there's Occultation and Man in the Moon, sort of half and half. And that's Nick Stewart, who signed us to Ireland. And he signed U2 to Ireland in the morning. He signed us in the afternoon.
Yes.
And he's a nice guy.
Okay.
Everybody called him the captain at Ireland because he was an ex-Coldstream Guards.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, I mean, Bono was trying to wind him up and say, come and sign us in the Heart Bar in Belfast. So he did. I mean, the guy was a British major in the Coldstream Guards. And went to Belfast to sign him. And this was at the time of the Troubles, Not,
Yeah.
Wow,
Exactly.
Flew to Manchester and signed us in the afternoon.
Exactly. Oh, wow. Yeah. I have one coming up with Jerry McAvoy, who's a bassist. He played with Rory Gallagher, back in the day. Yeah. And we're definitely going to talk about the Troubles. I know that's coming up.
There's the guitarist, Rory Gallagher.
Yes. Oh, tell me about it. Yeah. Well, and you mentioned that pretty much the retrospective kind of sapped the vaults of material. That pretty much all of that on there. Well, that's interesting that they printed that on the end. Well, you can't believe everything. It said first edition was going to be 4 CDs, 100 pages, but that never materialized. Okay.
No, it was going to happen. It didn't. I think the 4 CDs would have included more demos.
Okay. Yeah.
Which we put out. Universal Records, Universal Pictures Records, or whatever they're called. Yeah. They wouldn't let us put it digitally.
Oh, okay.
So we couldn't put them on Spotify, couldn't put them on iTunes, or any of that.
Yeah.
So we had to cut down some of the stuff.
Yeah.
And the 90s stuff would also have been on there.
Okay. Yeah, and anytime you have that many CDs, there's going to be some filler material in there. Yeah.
Well, a lot of people. That's why we put one lot of demos on.
Yeah.
On one side, because it just seemed nice to do it. Because some of the people, like Joe, who's now in the band, he was a collector. He was just, he had bootlegs and all sorts of us. I never heard him.
Yeah. I haven't. Right. I have another YouTube channel where I post music from various artists, over the years, and to get around their copyright infringement, which they love to get you with that, I have to fly under the radar. So a lot of those demos, that's what I'll post, and get by, and they don't catch those, so a lot of times that's what I'll do. B-sides of singles and things like that. Well, who is the Granite Shore?
That's Nick Halliwell.
Okay, that's Nick. Okay.
Yeah. Nick's the main man for the Granite Shore.
Okay.
He also, Steve plays on a lot of it. Kelly played on a lot of it. I've sang backing vocals on a lot of it. So it was almost a distractions, but with a
A different name, different name. Yeah,
type of tune,
once more from the top, the 2015 album.
Yeah,
It was released at Granite Shore. Did you sing on that one? Did you?
I did.
Okay, okay. All right, all right. Yeah, yeah.
And Kelly, I sang them on that Kelly played drums. So I'm not sure if it, because I've got all of them obviously because Nick sends them to me.
Yeah.
I think it was more from the top. I think that was it. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. It was on that one. Well, since 2016, the band has been playing live shows. And as you mentioned, the current lineup is you, Alex Sidebottom, Joe Berhone, Chris Dutton, and Graham Battersby.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And
yeah, the reason we started again in 2016,
yeah,
that was interesting because when none of us got together for a long, long time. But one of our close friends, a chap called John Ormerod, who was known as John the Postman, he was quite famous on the Manchester scene. He used to, at the end of every Buzzcocks gig or Distractions gig, occasionally other gigs, he'd get up and sing Louie Louie unaccompanied.
Did he?
And everybody joined in. And so it was always the last thing to happen in a gig. And poor guy died. So we decided to play the benefit for him.
Oh, was he an actual postman?
He was, yeah.
Okay. Okay. And he had a nice voice then.
No.
He didn't. Okay.
That's one thing you couldn't say about John. He didn't have a good but he did have a couple of albums out with on Bent Records, BENT.
Okay.
Manchester label. And what was he called? John the Postman's Rock and Roll Four Skinners.
Okay.
I presume refers to some kind of manufactured cigarette.
I'll have to check him out. I have to look into him. John the Postman.
John the Postman.
John the musical artist. Jon. John.
Jon. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Jonathan Ormrod. Yes.
Ormrod. Yeah.
Yes. Well, okay. Yeah, it's got a pretty lengthy bio actually on him.
Yeah. It will have. Everybody knew him. Everybody knew the Postman.
Oh, okay. See, that one slipped right by me. Okay. I will definitely have to look into that. Well, you guys enjoying playing live?
Absolutely. Yeah. We're doing one in, we don't play it very often. I've not been too well with various illnesses, pardon me, but recently we're back at it, and we've got a gig Sunday, August the 8th, I think it is, and it's the Rebellion Festival in Blackpool. It's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, hundreds of bands, but we're on the Sunday, and I think Public Image are headlining that night. The Adverts, us, quite a few bands. Apparently, none of them are unknown, if you know what I mean. They're not too oblique.
Yes. I think I saw that on the website. I think I saw that. What kind of venues are you guys playing? You getting a pretty good show up? Pretty good crowds.
Yeah. We've done some really good. We usually, if we get a support turn opening act, we did one with the Skids. We have not.
Okay.
And I saw Jobson. I said to him, last time we played together was 1980 Manchester Apollo. Yeah. And he went, no. And we just did the local place here.
Yeah.
So finally, people who saw me, Pete Shelley, name dropped me.
Yeah.
Actually saw me on stage. Yeah. That was we play all sorts really. There's a great little festival called the Right to Roam in Bolton in North Manchester. We do that every year. That one's really good. What else are we? Yeah, they're mainly big pubs. So the Hope and Anchor in Islington in London, which is a bit of an iconic venue anyway. And we played there in early December, and we hadn't played since 1980.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's a bit of a gap. And the guy was really
but time flies too, like you said. sometimes it just seems like you were just there, right? Yeah, yeah.
Well,
Right.
as you walk down the stairs into the group, it was like, yeah, I remember it really well.
Yeah, yeah, it's all they come flooding back, all those memories. Yeah, yeah. Well, are there any plans on recording new material?
Not as such. We did one a short while ago that was a limited pressing. I think it was limited to 200 or something like that, 500, I don't know. Yeah. And that was just for our own fun, really. Yeah. We do everything for fun now. We're not, we're way too late to do anything for a living, obviously. So
no.
Yeah, we have some enjoyment.
Yeah. That's what it's all about too. I mean, you
Yeah.
come back to the reason you first started doing it was because you enjoyed it. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, I think we do 2 songs that weren't from. Oh, we do Lost as well. 2 songs from the new EP, Lost. One that was never, well, it was recorded with Kindly Leave the Stage. It was called Nothing Lasts, but Adrian wrote that in 1980. So all the stuff is 70s and 80s really that we play.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's just fun, I'm doing it because I like it.
That's what you do it for. That's right. Yeah. And the audience is liking it too, So there you go.
I mean, the weird thing is we were playing at the Hope and Anchor, for example, in London, and there was 4 or 5 guys who turned up from Eastern Europe. I'm not sure where, but they had all the sleeves. And would you sign these, please?
Yeah,
like, get in.
Yeah. Exactly.
3, 4 or 5 copies of each because their friends wanted it signing as well. It's like, okay, yeah.
Right. You find those you find those people collect. Yeah. Holding on to the.
Yeah, Steve once said to me not that long ago, if we could get everybody who loved the Distractions into one room, we could fill the Albert Hall.
Yeah.
He said, but individually, there's more people on stage than off it in certain places.
Right. Very true. Very true. All right, Mike. Well, anything else you'd like to add here at the end that we may have overlooked or missed out, or?
Not really. No, I think what you've also got to remember is my memory is not as good as it used to be. So some of this might not be 100% right.
That's okay. Hey, I need to start putting a clause at the end of the interview. Yeah. Right. Mine too. Mine too. I tell this. Absolutely. I'm starting. There's a few years difference here, but I'm starting to walk into a room and. Why did I walk in here? Doing those things? Yes.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's when you read the fridge and wonder what you were doing. That's the problem.
That's the other one. That's the other one. Oh my goodness, yeah. So I'm not going to tell too much on myself. More on myself here. All right. Well, it's been very enjoyable, Mike. Thank you again for doing this. And
it's been great. I really enjoyed it. Thanks very much, Greg.
Yes. Well, you're very welcome. Very welcome. And
don't be a stranger, mate. You've got me addressed.
No, I won't. You too. Keep me posted on anything that you'd like to, and I will too. I'll keep in touch, and I'll send you a copy of this probably a week or so.
Yeah, that's cool.
And then you can post it on wherever you'd like to, and it'll be on my channel. So.
Okay.
All right. See if we can get
some stuff.
All right. Yeah. You're very welcome. Yes, I've enjoyed it. Thank you. Thank you again, Mike.
Thanks a lot.
All right. All the best to you. Okay.